Putin has ignored Trump's deadline on talks with Zelensky, dismissing any deal at the SCO summit while showcasing unity with China and India. The snub leaves Trump scrambling, with the White House now teasing a major announcement, fueling speculation on Ukraine about both his policy failures and his health. No deal has been reached between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump regarding the former holding talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky or on a trilateral summit, Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov stated on September 1st. Speculation of a possible Putin-Zelensky meeting arose in light of Trump's talks with Putin in Alaska, after which the US leader claimed he had begun the arrangements for such a meeting, which might later expand into a three-way summit. However, speaking on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) summit in China on September 1st, Ushakov confirmed that Putin and Trump had discussed raising the level of the negotiating team for direct talks between Moscow and Kiev, but stressed that no decision has been finalized.
What the press reports is not what we agreed on. They often talk about a trilateral meeting, about a meeting between Putin and Zelensky, but there was no agreement on this between Putin and Trump.
He added that while the US delegation promised specific proposals on such meetings after Alaska, but none have yet been made. The issue, he noted, remains under discussion. According to Ushakov, the Ukraine conflict was a key topic in Putin's talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the SCO summit on September 1st. However, he did not disclose details of those conversations. Speaking earlier in the day, Putin said Moscow values the efforts of its strategic partners to end the hostilities and promised to brief colleagues on his conversations with Trump during bilateral talks. Russian President Vladimir Putin, after talking with China's Xi Jinping and India's Narendra Modi, said on September 1st that the issue of NATO's eastward enlargement would have to be addressed for there to be sustainable peace in Ukraine. The Russian president also said that he reached understandings with US President Donald Trump over the end of the Ukraine war at their meeting in Alaska in August. But he did not say whether he would agree to peace talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky brokered by Trump, who had apparently given September 1st as a deadline for Putin's response. Speaking during a summit in China, Putin continued to defend his decision to invade Ukraine, once again blaming the West for the war.
We value the efforts and propositions to solve the Ukrainian crisis of China, India, and other strategic partners of ours. The mutual understanding that was reached at a recent Russia-US summit in Alaska heads the same direction, I hope. I paves the way to peace in Ukraine, I hope. I will inform my colleagues in more detail on the results of talks in Alaska during our bilateral meetings today and tomorrow. We value the efforts and propositions to solve the Ukrainian crisis of China, India, and other strategic partners of ours. The mutual understanding that was reached at a recent Russia-US summit in Alaska heads the same direction, I hope. I paves the way to peace in Ukraine, I hope. I will inform my colleagues in more detail on the results of talks in Alaska during our bilateral meetings today and tomorrow.
Putin ordered tens of thousands of troops to invade Ukraine in February 2022 after 8 years of fighting in eastern Ukraine between Russian-backed separatists and Ukrainian troops. Russia currently controls a little under 1/5 of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the White House press pool was notified on September 1st that President Donald Trump would make an unspecified announcement on September 2nd at 2 p.m. inside the Oval Office. His appearance will come after a conspicuous multi-day absence over the last week and the weekend, during which Trump was only photographed 2 times entering and exiting the presidential motorcade on his departure to and return from his Virginia golf club. Though the White House has not indicated the subject matter of Tuesday's presidential announcement, Trump may choose to address the Ukraine issue after Russian President Putin once again blamed the Western NATO for his offensive at the SCO summit, chaired by Chinese President Xi Jinping. Putin, Modi and Jinping's bonhomie at the summit has drawn eyeballs and is being speculated as a power move after Trump imposed massive tariffs on the nations. Speculations are rife that Trump may use this opportunity to make an announcement regarding the negotiations with leaders from Russia, Ukraine and other European nations in a thus far unsuccessful effort to broker a peace agreement or ceasefire between the warring nations. After a peace summit in Alaska last month with Russian President Vladimir Putin, which concluded early when no agreement was made, Trump met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other European heads of state at the White House. Despite threatening the Kremlin with severe sanctions if Russia did not take concrete steps toward a ceasefire, Trump has not met his self-imposed deadlines on which to enact them. Russia continued to bombard Ukrainian forces on the night of the summit in Alaska. Trump may use his time with the press on Tuesday to announce a new policy initiative in his ongoing pursuit of an agreement between the nations or the results of recent negotiations between the involved parties. However, over the last few days, unverified rumors about the president being unwell have gone viral. But Donald Trump was spotted on August 31st with his grandchildren as he unwound at his golf course in Northern Virginia. He was photographed leaving the White House and at the golf club. However, it barely allayed the rumors about the 79-year-old's health. Asked about the bruises on his hands, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had told reporters that they happened from frequent shaking of hands, a major part of the POTUS's daily schedule. But all of it has proved dissatisfying, especially on the back of Trump's long absence from the media and his schedule being empty for weeks. The presser on Tuesday could potentially bust the big bubble of mystery around Trump's health, making it all the more anticipated. The internet is even abuzz that Trump may announce his resignation at the press conference, with people making wild guesses about the president's health. It is not yet clear what the announcement is about, but Trump may also take the opportunity to address the nation about his ongoing rhetoric about the supposed crime emergency in Washington, D.C., a claim that defies evidence. Critics have described his deployment of National Guard troops as a political show of force and an attempt to ramp up the detention of suspected immigrants in a city led by a mayor who opposes his agenda.